So I thought I'd take a few minutes and just kind of navigate our way through the next couple weeks, and I'll talk about the assignment and what we're going to do as the activity, and how we're going to branch off and kind of develop our own little self-awareness and stuff like that. And I think there's lots of things to talk about when we talk about self-awareness, but I think during this time frame and the pandemic, I think it's really important that we spend time here. And as I develop the mental skills plan, I think this is a good start as we prepare for the season. And I just think self awareness has a huge tie into emotional intelligence, and I really believe it's a secret weapon for athletes. And so, like this quote goes, it's a lot more than just throwing the ball. It's all about how you're wired and how you work. 1,000 kids can throw the ball, but it's the intangibles that separate you. And so self-awareness, emotional intelligence is all about the intangibles. And on the flip side of that, I think self-awareness, if we look at leadership and culture, self-awareness really helps us model the way. And if you're a self-aware individual, all of a sudden now, once again, secret weapon, mental skills, physical conditioning on ice, everything like that is all of a sudden is able to take off. And I think there's lots of stories about what we can do in self-awareness, but I think from the team point of view, a team that has a high level of individual self-awareness also has a high level of identity and a high level of culture, and I think that's where we want to go. And there's lots of stories out there about what is self-awareness, but I truly believe as we move forward how far you as individual athletes can go, and as a team is completely dependent on our self-awareness and how we manage that self-awareness. And then the other part of it is social skills and connect all those dots. So there is some great stories of self-awareness, but I think one of the first ones is Doug Suttles, who was the chief operating officer for BP and was tasked with the oil spill from 2010, which is noted as the worst oil spill in history. And it's funny when you compare Doug Suttles and the chief executive officer. The chief executive officer kept on going back to it's just a tiny spill. His name was Tony Hayward, and that he talked to the media about just wanting his life back. When Doug Suttles was tasked and his team was tasked with the process of cleaning up and making sure it goes with as best as it can under scrutiny. He really talked about objectives, and he communicated it well to the public. He communicated well to his team about the progress, the process, the assumptions, and how each individual can contribute. And I think that's the starting point. And if we're doing those things, all of a sudden now we can take, in times of stress, we can take our plan. And that's something that we always talk about in our individual identity and stuff like that. So, I think it's really, teams go as far as the individual in my eyes. And I think it's really important that we make the connection on some of these aspects of self-awareness and why it's so important and why we're spending time on it and why we need it, especially when we think about the stress that we can go through and even living right now. And that's why it's a great time to reflect and think back to certain situations and stuff like that. So, the ability to understand yourself and others is a big thing, and cope and manage your immediate surroundings. I think we often operate emotionally, where sometimes we need to go back to our principles, and that's high self-awareness. It helps us deal with the anxiety of ourselves and others, and allows us to delay initial impulses and respond or react when trying to correct emerging problems. So, at the end of the day, when we really look at self-awareness and we really think about it, there's emotional self-awareness, accurate self-assessment, and self-confidence. And a great question around accurate self-assessment is, are you doing things today that is helping you become a better athlete? And if the gut answer is no, then what do you need to do to try and develop that? And that ties into that idea of self-confidence as well. And I just can't stress enough when we think about this type of aspect into our performance, and it connects to identity, it connects to our mental skills plan. It's how we handle good and bad days, and how we create a standard pattern of thought. And it really connects into mission statements and vision and all those types of things. And I can't stress enough why this is such a good time to kind of look at some of this stuff and try to expand on it a little bit. And it's going to help us deal with stress and stuff like that. So One of the studies that I was reading about was Google, and why there was a study about how Google operates and why they do such a good job on operating their teams. And one of the things that they looked at was kind of the personality and who did it and stuff like that. And one thing that they came to was that it wasn't about personality, it was about the how. It was how they approached the day. It was about the words that they used to perpetuate performance. It was the unwritten rules that reads here of how the team worked. And how the team works goes right back to how the individual works and what you're doing on a daily basis to become the best player that you can be. And in my eyes, that's really a lot of mental toughness. And I think that creates an environment that is a secret weapon that no one sees. It's not highlighted, but that's why that self-awareness creates how we manage ourselves, how we embrace adversity, and how we paint that picture. And I just can't stress that enough as we make our way through here. So, some of the things when we talk about self-assessment is, what do you seem to do faster and better than others? Visualize it, right? When have you been disappointed in performance? Visualize it, change the script, reset, reframe. What piece of constructive feedback do you hear the most from others? If it's a common theme, it's probably going to help you play a little bit better. And, if you had a neutral observer reviewing your week, what would they say about you as you go through and we try and win the race, win the weight and stuff like that? So what we want to do kind of moving forward here to develop this self-awareness is I'm going to send you 6 podcasts that I believe have individuals who are high in self-awareness. And there's going to be questions on a weekly basis. Your job is to listen to 3 of the podcasts and respond to, just as we do as a journal entry into these aspects, and vicariously learn through these individuals. And this is a great time, and I think it's going to help us reset. It's going to drive your individual identity, which will drive team identity, which will drive team culture, which will drive leadership. And it all starts with internally looking at self-awareness and what you're about. So enjoy these few weeks, and I'll be sending them to the 6 podcasts and instructions as we move forward here.